Peter wants to know, I'm new to clipless pedals. I just bought my first pair of shoes. How do I install the cleats? Hi, I'm Trevor with Art Cyclery. On today's episode of Ask Mechanic, we're going to walk you through all the steps in installing your clipless pedal cleats. The tips we're going over today will apply to all clipless pedal shoes, whether it's road, mountain, or spin. To properly install your cleats, you'll need a marker, paper towel, alcohol, 4mm Allen wrench, and the grease of your choice. The first step in today's video, which will only apply if you're using a used shoe, is just to make sure that everything's nice and clean. You just want to make sure to get any debris out of this area in the backing plate, and then just spray a little bit of alcohol on a rag and just wipe that off, make sure it's all nice and clean. Get any residue off of there and remove any rocks or debris that might be wedged in, especially if you have a used shoe. So for today's video, we're going to be installing some Shimano SPD cleats on a specialized S-Works mountain shoe. Now, as you can see on the mountain shoe, there's two options, which that's only present on the mountain shoe. On a road shoe, there's just 3 bolt holes and there's not that option. So we recommend, especially if this is your first time running clipless pedals, to start with the top 2 bolts here. So grab your cleat and make sure also that you have it oriented in the right way. So the arrow shape on the Shimano SPD cleat is going to be pointed towards the front of the shoe. If you're using Time or Crank Brothers or any other brand that may have a side-specific cleat, it's important to read the instruction manual for those and make sure to put them on the right side. If you put them on the wrong side, they either may not work or it may significantly change the release point or the amount of float that you have on your shoes. So we're going to put a tiny dab of grease on the threads here. Make sure that's nice and smeared around. And then we're going to go ahead and put those on the top bolts. And for now, we're just going to loosely tighten them. So just get the thread started so the cleat stays on there. We'll use a 4mm Allen wrench to do that. Get those started. All right, so yeah, that'll do. You want to be able to still move it around because we're going to cover how you orient it as far as like the direction and just, you know, where you want to start fore and aft as well as side to side. So keep it loose on there for now. All right, and so for the next step, we're going to cover the angle that you want to put your cleat on here for. So for this step, you'll need to find a tall surface and sit on the edge of it. Today's video, we're going to use the bar top here. And now I'm going to just loosely wiggle my feet forward and backwards, kind of move them around, let everything loosen up a little bit. And then when you feel like you're kind of relaxed, you want to just go ahead and let your feet dangle down to a neutral position. And what we're looking for here is whether you are kind of slightly inboard or slightly outboard with your feet. So whether you're, duck-footed or pigeon-toed. As you can see here, my feet are pretty neutral. So they're pretty straight. What that means is that when we go to tighten my cleat, the angle of it is just going to be kind of pointing forward and pretty even side to side. So in the case that your heels are outboard and you're pigeon-toed, you will want to point or angle your cleat towards your big toe. Vice versa, if you were heels in and more duck-footed, you would want to kind of angle your cleat towards your pinky toe. And now that we have the angle sorted out, the next step, we have our Sharpie. We're going to want to mark where the ball of our foot is. And you can see that ball of my foot, that joint, is located right here. So I'm going to get my Sharpie out and I'm going to make a small mark there. And then we're going to want to remove the shoe and just draw a imaginary line. You can use a Sharpie, you can use some tape, draw that line across. And we want to make sure that the center of your cleat bolts are going to be no closer to that line than roughly 5 to 10 millimeters. And so that can be applied to easily with the SPD cleat because the bolts are right next to each other. If we're looking at the road shoe, it can be a little bit trickier, right? Because we have, the bolt here, but we want to just think about the center of the cleat and we want that kind of imaginary center area to be no closer than 5 to 10 millimeters to that line. So with a road shoe, what we usually do for first setup is we will just put these bolts in and we're just gonna slam the cleat all the way back. So as far back as it can go, obviously, and then we adjust the angle as needed based on how your natural orientation of your foot is. But we want that to be all the way back. And that's gonna be a good starting point. With the mountain shoe, as we talked about earlier, we started in those top bolts. And the reason we did that is so that when we get to this step, we can just slam it all the way back as well. And the lower bolt holes will hit these slots and that'll stop it. So a lot of modern shoes, these slots have gotten much longer. Same with road shoes. So the trend of having the cleat further back is something basically has proven to be very helpful in eliminating hot spots. And it also is super beneficial in producing more power because instead of drawing power from your calf, you're drawing power from your quad. It's also your foot isn't working to kind of stay level. You're kind of moving that a little bit. You want it, nice and behind the ball of your foot. And that just, allows you to use your quad more when you're putting out power. So that's something that we found to be very effective for people. This is just a starting setup. So we recommend, if you're a serious cyclist, you're riding a lot, or you follow this video and then you're having follow-up issues, we recommend getting a bike fit. At that point, you're on a trainer and you're having a trained professional look at you on the bike and really dial everything in. Now that we have the right shoe all set up, we're gonna go ahead and follow those same steps for our left shoe. Once you have both cleats set up, we recommend getting a few rides in and pay attention to any issues you may be having. Small changes with cleat position will have big effects on your ride. So if you are having, any pain or you're having, a specific fit that you're looking for that you're not achieving, we definitely recommend talking to your local bike fitter. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Ask the Mechanic. And if you have any specific questions you'd like answered, please email them to trevor@artcyclery.com. We'll see you next time and subscribe to our channel for fresh content.